Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamerspro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. This is a topic that I first heard about yesterday on Too Raw for Sports. He had published a show on it. And it was centered on these Kevin Garnett comments, right? So as I was watching his show, I listened to a bit of it because he played a bit of it. And then after I finished watching his show, the video itself was now recommended to me from, I think, the All the Smoke channel. And in this clip, it was featuring Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. Now, let's pause right there for a second. How do we get here? As you guys know, about 5 or 6 days ago, Anthony Edwards spoke to the Wall Street Journal. And he made some comments, rather, that pissed off a lot of people, right? That pissed off a lot of people, where he essentially disrespected an entire era of, NBA players, right? By basically saying that there were no skilled players in the past with the exception of Michael Jordan. His exact quotes were, "They say it was tougher back then than it is now, but I don't think anybody has skill back then. Jordan was the only one that really has skill. So that's why when they saw Kobe, they're like, oh my God, but now everybody has skill." Those comments have gotten Anthony Edwards in some serious hot water, because the amount of pushback that he's receiving, it ain't nothing to play with. A lot of people have been pushing back on him. People in the independent space, former NBA legends like Magic Johnson himself, who came out and said, while he was speaking to Stephen A. Smith, he said, because Stephen A. Smith asked him to respond to these comments, he said, "I never respond to a guy that's never won a championship. He didn't win a college championship. I don't know if he even won a high school championship." Those were Magic Johnson's comments, basically saying this is beneath me, number one. Number two, if I start responding to people like Anthony Edwards, I actually diminish my value for what I accomplished, right? So he pushed back. But then Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce decided to push back, but really KG was the one that went in. Here's what surprised me about KG. KG is a guy that played in the 2000s. We all witnessed Kevin Garnett's career. I certainly did when he was with the Minnesota Timberwolves with Stephon Marbury. Then he was doing his thing with Wally Szczerbiak and all of these guys. I remember when he won the regular season MVP award. He was arguably the best player in the world. Like, he was in that conversation for the best player in the world. KG, he was up there. So he was a hell of a player. I remember when he joined the Boston Celtics. I remember when he beat Kobe's Lakers. I remember all of that, right? And if you know anything about Kevin Garnett, he's a very, very intense person. He's a very, very competitive person. So, to hear some of the things that Kevin Garnett had been saying over the past few months on the GOAT debate and all of that was really disheartening. Because in the past, he would take a strong line. He was like, Jordan's the GOAT. He would really defend his era. But then it seemed like he was all of a sudden looking for reasons to prop up this era and say things that a lot of us who grew up watching KG play were like, bro, what happened to you, right? So to witness him kind of just completely manhandling Anthony Edwards yesterday in the fashion that he did, I was very, very surprised, but I was also relieved, because I'm like, somebody needs to bring this kind of energy to these kind of conversations. We need to stop with the nonsense. We need to stop intellectualizing the nonsense and really call out these garbage takes when we see it. And that is exactly what Kevin Garnett did, in a way that I have not seen anybody in sports media really attack this particular subject matter. So these are the comments that we want to get into today. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to play Kevin Garnett's comments. He said a lot, but we want to play the most important parts for you guys. So we want you guys to listen to everything that he said here, and then we're going to come back and really get into the show. Take a listen to what KG had to say here.
If I'm being honest, bro, I don't think anybody in this generation could have played like 20 years ago. If I'm being 100, and this is to everybody in our league, Tatum, all y'all. Let me tell y'all something, bro. 20 years ago, bro, you couldn't get to a triple step back.
Nah.
You hear what I'm saying to you? You couldn't get to a triple step back, and then if you shot that, it had to go in. You know why? Because we had efficiency back in the day, my dude, and it was so it was too physical. And guess what? The league had to come off of it for the flow of movement to be able to have scoring go up, which is why we like to sit here and watch kind of the rat race of the high-paced game, right? But, bro, let's not talk about the game and let's not talk about the physicality of the game back then. Real I only think half these kids in the league could have been on an NBA team 20 years ago.
Straight up.
The locker room was too, it was too grown.
You know what I watched too? You know what I
watched?
watched?
It was too of them. It was too much of a fraternity. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man.
Just
like
the hand check.
No, bro. It was a different vibration. David Stern did a great job of taking all of the physicality out of the game. You understand? Freedom of movement means freedom of movement. Man, back in the day when you had to get by Paul because Paul was squared up with you and ready to slide, and then he could body you, he could poke, he could use his hands, but I can use my hands.
I could fight through a screen.
Bro, in the Olympics was similar style play when the guard can ride you damn near over the pick.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to get out of that, and Holiday, when he come out and he get over, he there. Right. So if you go to cross him, bro, you don't even. That's what I'm saying, bro. Man, the levels in which you had to be not only strong enough but skilled enough to get by this to you. You understand? And then they ain't never seen a 6'7" Rodman guard you. Bro, I see you. And you know, you in the scout report. We know you go left. We know you can finish right, but you go left to pull up. Bro, everybody knows, bro, in the games back then. The Isaiah Thomases and the Dumars, man, Dumars shut Jordan down. Bro, they was coming to the lane, bro. You might get your nose broke trying to dunk. You understand? Dwayne Wade broke Cole's nose in the All-Star game. Man, bro, it's just different. It was very different back then, bro. Real I'm talking about in the locker room. You can't be on your phone in the locker room. You can't. Bro, 20 years ago? Nah, nobody in this era could have played 25 years ago. We said that. And I'm talking about not just the play and all the skill that everybody got, actually was called bad shots and lack of efficiency. It was until they start data and saying take more threes than twos. Before then, we played ball, bro. We didn't give a that the GM couldn't come down and say, put into a game plan with a coach like Doc or D'Antoni talking about, we trying to get touches and touch the paint. Bro, I didn't see.
Yeah, it's hard to say more skill.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Nobody in this era has a mid-range.
Bro, you couldn't get, nobody.
Nobody in this era has a post game.
And the ones that do look amazing. Look at Shea. Shea got a mid-range.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's only like a few of them got.
That's what I'm saying, bro. 2 dribble pull up.
Yeah, they don't
try to do it. Okay, young fella, if you hear me. And then y'all exhaust the ball. Y'all are dribbling the air out of the ball.
Right.
Y'all dribble the ball 100 times more than another.
Right.
Catch it off the bounce. 1 dribble, 2 dribble pull up. Let me see you do that off the bounce.
Right.
Let me see your skill work off that. I ain't even known it like this, but bro, you can't come from and expect a rebuttal. Bro, real was totally different. And you had to have that work, and you had to really work on your You know, you was out 2-3 games, man. Your teammates, hey, bro, what you doing tonight? You going? Nah, I can't go, man. My toenail off, man. I can't. Nah, bro, you can't even come in here and lead no like that. You hear me?
Nah.
So you had to strap it up, and you had to get out here. You had to dive on the floor. You had to get in the rumble. Yeah.
Right.
Real right. You had, man, it was men leading men. Yeah, ain't none of these no lockout. And Anthony Edwards don't know what's going on with the league policy. This, bro, you understand what I'm talking about? The leader, bro. Man, I can't even have this conversation.
You can't even say it if you ain't watched.
It ain't the same.
So you heard what Kevin Garnett had to say. First of all, let's clap for KG. Let's clap for KG. Let's clap for KG. Let's give it up. Let's give it up to KG. Okay, because Kevin Garnett, not only did he shut down Anthony Edwards and his nonsense and the people that try to support that nonsense, he did it in a way that pretty much let people know that thought that Anthony Edwards was saying something that like, nah, we're not going for it. We not going for it. Like, enough is enough with the nonsense. We not going for it. Now, we couldn't show you his visual countenance and how he was looking. At one point, he just took off his glasses. And you could tell at various points in that monologue, he was actually trying to restrain himself. He was, because it looked like he could have gone even harder. And personally, I think that this is what needs to happen. When people go out there and say these crazy things, somebody needs to step up to the lectern and shut it down in a way that if somebody else thinks they're going to come out here and say some crazy stuff, they'll think twice. Number one. Number two, if I think about all of the people that have touched on this subject in terms of like NBA players, with the exception of, let me say, Magic Johnson, Kevin Garnett is arguably the most qualified person that I've heard talk about this. Now, I haven't heard other people talk about it, Charles Barkley, but he's amongst them. He's certainly amongst them because he's an MVP. He's a Defensive Player of the Year. He's a multiple-time All-Star. He's an NBA champion. He's an All-NBA player. He was a really, really competitive guy. He actually was in some serious battles. So Kevin Garnett is overqualified to respond to this subject. He's overqualified. And if you listen to him carefully, he could have gone even harder. He could have gone even, look, Anthony Edwards clearly did not have a clue of what he was talking about, number one. Number two, I think it's pretty alarming that Anthony Edwards, as an NBA player, doesn't even know the history of his own league. And we're not talking about something that occurred 50 years before his birth. Anthony Edwards was 23, 24? So he's probably born in the year, 2000? So you mean to tell me you don't know anything beyond what you heard about Jordan and maybe the modern NBA? You don't know anything that came before that? Nothing before that? Nobody around you hipped you to this? Nobody around you was like, yo, check out these highlights. Maybe your coaches? Nothing? You don't know nothing about none of that? You don't even have the curiosity to be like, what were players like in the 90s? What were players like in the 80s? What were they doing? You have none of that. And what makes it worse is that not only do you have none of that information, you then decide to comment on it. That's what's absurd to me. And there were people actually, some people in the minority, actually thinking that they were coming to the defense of Anthony Edwards, or actually thinking that he was saying something, when in reality he was not. It is crazy, those comments. But here's what's going to happen. I'm going to be laughing at this era in the next few years. Oh, you better believe it. Because you know what's going to happen? The next generation that's coming up is going to be even more disrespectful and clueless than this generation. And do you know what's going to happen? You're going to have the future generation calling this particular generation trash. They're going to be like, we done with the 2020. Then y'all going to see what it be like. Then y'all going to be running around talking about, what are they talking about? They don't know the history of the game. Blah, 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 blah. And nobody going to feel sorry for your asses. Do you know why? Because this generation actually has zero respect for the generations that come before. Zero. My generation was the 2000s, 2010. Those are the guys that I actually grew up watching. But I also have a deep reverence and respect for generations before. Not this generation. This generation, all they know is what they have seen. And they don't know anything beyond that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how you guys cope. But in terms of Kevin Garnett, I 100% support his message, and I 100% support how he said it. It needed to be said that way. And people like KG in his era need to stand up and stop trying to buddy with these dudes and say all kind of crazy stuff and give them a pass. Somebody got to call it out. We got to have some type of elderly structure within the community. We can't just be letting the young boys run around, say anything, and the older dudes like, well, you know, he's young. It's like, nah, you need to correct that. You need to correct that. We need to have some checks and balances. So yesterday, was it yesterday? Let me just verify this. Yeah, yesterday. I think we're just producing content. This week we've been posting a lot of different polls on the community section of our channel. So we've just been really engaging with the audience. But for whatever reason, a thought occurred to me, right? And it came to me as a question. And the question was the following. What is the argument for LeBron James being better than Michael Jordan? Now, why would such a question occur to me? This type of question would occur to me because this is something we discuss and we debate on pretty much a daily basis on this channel, or weekly basis rather. We're always talking about this. They talk about it in media. So it's a hot topic, right? It gets people's blood boiling. Whenever we publish shows like this, usually that's where people talk the most. They leave the most comments because, you know, it's probably the most polarizing thing because there are people on this side, there are people on that side, right? But as a thought occurred to me, something then came to me and I said, why don't I post this in the community section of the channel and open up the floor to people that feel like, look, LeBron is on Jordan's level, or LeBron James is better than Jordan. And I said, let me give them a platform to basically explain why they feel LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. So I was sitting back and waiting to hear what people would say. And I was waiting to hear some LeBron James fans put up an argument so we can say, okay, let's hear what these guys have to say beyond just saying, oh, he's the GOAT, right? Because they can say that quite easily. But what I was trying to see is if they had a substantive argument to make to say this versus them just running around hollering and screaming to GOAT, because that's what they do. They can say go, 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 but they don't. I was beginning to suspect that these guys don't have any serious argument. So what happened? We put up this question, and in about 16 hours, the post generated about 420 comments. And I started to go through the comments. And what I saw was people just basically getting triggered left and right, falling all over the floor because they could not come up with a succinct argument to make in a defense of LeBron James being better. So let me go through some of the comments that people made, and it's pretty hilarious. Let's go through some of them. One person said 0. That's why they have to try to tear down the previous eras instead of simply telling us why LeBron is supposed to be better. Another person said LeBron fans will say longevity. That's the only argument they can win with, and he started laughing. Another person said there is no argument. One person said the only way to make an argument is to lie. Another person said there is no argument. Michael Jordan is the top of Mount Olympus. Another person said, okay, well, here we have one person. LeBron is a far superior is far superior to Jordan at giving away possessions by way of sloppy over dribbling, terrible passes to the defense, putting up brick houses. Okay, so that's what one person said. Another person said none, literally none. One person said trick question. There's no argument for LeBron over MJ. Another viewer said longevity is the only argument. I'm trying to see where, because there was some people that were actually trying to make an argument. Another person said absolutely no argument, laughing my ass off. No, some people did say that there is. Some people did say that there is one, and the people that said it was absolutely one people that said it was absolutely hilarious. One person said accomplishments, narrative, and skill-wise, LeBron will never be close to Jordan. LeBron only has longevity to brag. One viewer said he's cuter. I don't know what that means. Another person said, one person said he played longer, but he was being funny. Another person said, no, there were some people. One person said, give it a rest, bro. Another person said he is a way better stat padder. Some other viewers said, okay, there is none, but there are some that did. I want to go through this here. Let me just see this here, because some people definitely did, and it was absolutely hilarious. One person said numbers and longevity. Okay, we have one there. Numbers and longevity. Another viewer said longevity. Another person said 73 and 9. Here we have another viewer. He said Bron can play all 4 positions at a high level. He's better at assists. He's a better overall defender. Jesus Lord. He said he's a better 3-point shooter. He's a better rebounder. He's doing it all against higher level of talent. So as a basketball player, Bron is better in many aspects of the game. Okay. We have one. That's what one person said. Another person deflected. He said, define better first. Okay. I don't know. I don't even know what else to say. Another person said statistics. Okay. That's one. One guy said statistics. Most people said none. For the people that came to the defense of LeBron, I mean, it was, here we go. One person said, bro, why do you get so mad when someone says Bron better than Mike? Let it go, bro. That's their opinion. And I responded, I said, so basically, you can't even explain your position, but expect people to take you seriously. Another viewer said versatility, and then somebody hit him with a laughing emoji. And then this is the one that really got me. He said, LeBron has done more with less. And I responded, who? And then another person said, you have to mean MJ. If you don't, you need medication. So I wanted to hear what this guy said. And he said this: LeBron was the underdog in more games than MJ and won more. That's what more with less means. It is easy to win when you're the favorites. And people just kept on going back and forth. So basically what I saw from all of that was there was no real explanation there. There was some people that I went back and forth with. They were falling all over the comment section, twerking it up, hollering and screaming, you know, running through the woods, fighting bears for honey, all kind of crazy stuff, right? Just slapping each other with honey, just basically going berserk. But what I discovered is they don't have an argument. They don't have a serious argument. The one person that tried to actually explain it by talking about, he said that LeBron was a more versatile defender. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? I'm sure y'all have seen that one. Are you sure about that? I don't think so. Jordan was by far the superior on-ball defender. That's not even up for debate. So what does that mean? That means that Jordan has a higher likelihood of defending the guy in front of him with the ball. Number two, Jordan was just as talented as being a help defender, playing the lanes, the open lane. He did. And he did that beautifully with his running mate, Scottie Pippen. Just go watch the footage. It is out there. Right? So he's good at on-ball defense and help defense. He's a better on-ball defender and just as good as a help defender. And you can see that with his help defense on the greatest sequence in the history of basketball when he stripped Karl Malone and then went down and hit the. That's a two-way move. That's a two-way sequence we just witnessed there. Offense is nothing to discuss. Nothing to discuss. Now, all around better. Well, he averages about 1 more assist per game. Rebounds, I think LeBron averages about 1 more rebound, but LeBron is bigger than him. So what do we say about that? Jordan is the better free throw shooter, and he's more clutch, and he's not going to have mental collapses, and he was more dominant. The guy that said he did more with less, I'm not even going to justify that with a response. But what I've come to realize is these guys don't actually have an argument. The only thing they can do is say LeBron is the GOAT. But if you press them to give an argument, they cannot. They cannot. So for the LeBron fans watching the show that feel like LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan, all I'm asking you to do is explain in the comment section why you believe so. That's all I want to know. I want to hear some arguments from these guys, and let's see if this thing is even worth debating. What's been the thing we've been hearing in sports media for the last 5 years? The thing we've been hearing is these current players in the NBA are the most talented, the most physically gifted, and the most advanced crop of NBA players that we've ever seen. And you've actually had some people out there that have tried to use some pseudoscience to basically intellectualize a position that they themselves cannot really explain. People will say this generation is more advanced, they're more skilled. And then you ask them, okay, can you just explain this or can you quantify it? They can't do it. All they do is speak in generalities. Oh, they're more skilled. They're stronger. They're faster. And it's like, okay, so do you have any quantitative data to prove this? Is there any data that you have that suggests that they're physically stronger? Do we have some charts that can compare their strength? Faster, do we have any charts that can compare their speed? More athletic, do we have any proof of this? They can't prove any of this. The fact of the matter, and I've been saying this, players have been as talented and as physically gifted as they have pretty much always been. There are no outliers in this particular generation versus generations in the past. Now, some people say, "Oh, you're trying to ignore the science. You're trying to ignore the science." And what do they throw out there? Evolution. These people don't even know what the hell they're just throwing out words because it feels good. I've realized people say things because it feels good to say it, even though they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. When they say evolution, they don't even know that there are two sets of evolution. Which one are you referring to? And I've studied a lot about this. Right? I've watched a lot of debates on this. I have. There are two basic forms of evolution. There's macroevolution and there's microevolution. Macro is turning a phone into a damn mongoose, where you have one thing and it turns into something different. Microevolution is when you see incremental changes within the same species. That's micro, but it happens over a long period of time. Certainly not 20 years or 30 years. But nevertheless, these people go out here and say this. And they use these terms like more fast, more faster, more skilled. They use these terms as a way to elevate this particular modern NBA over generations in the past, and saying this is the most advanced league we've ever seen. But there are other people out here that are pushing back on some of these things. And one of those people is Kevin Garnett. Yesterday, Kevin Garnett went viral for the public flogging he gave to Anthony Edwards and his supporters who support that nonsense that he said about players from Michael Jordan's era. But in the midst of him putting the beatdowns on these people, he then took it a step further and began to expose all of the media lies that has been told about this generation being better than generations in the past. And he basically said that these players in this modern NBA would not even survive in the past. And I sat back and I was like, man, tell it like it. Tell it. Tell it. So for those of you who did not hear what Kevin Garnett, and it's long, but I want you guys to listen to every second of it, because I believe every single thing he said was on the money. And I need you guys to pay attention to the passion that he spoke with. So what we want to do now is want to play exactly what Kevin Garnett had to say. Put on your seatbelts, because this is going to be a doozy right here. And then we're going to come back and we're going to react to what he had to say. Take a listen to KG right here.
If I'm being honest, bro, I don't think anybody in this generation could have played like 20 years ago. If I'm being 100, and this is to everybody in our league, Tatum, all y'all. Let me tell y'all something, bro. 20 years ago, bro, you couldn't get to a triple step back.
No.
You hear what I'm saying to you? You couldn't get to a triple step back, and then if you shot that, it had to go in. You know why? Because we had efficiency back in the day, my dude, and it was so. It was too physical. And guess what? The league had to come off of it for the flow of movement to be able to have scoring go up, which is why we like to sit here and watch kind of the rat race of the high-paced game, right? But, bro, let's not talk about the game and let's not talk about the physicality of the game back then. Real I only think half these kids in the league could have been on an NBA team 20 years ago.
Straight up.
The locker room was too, it was too grown.
You know what I watched too? You know what I
watched?
watched?
It was too grown. It was two of them. It was too much of a fraternity. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man.
Just
like
a hand check. How
no, bro. It was a different vibration. David Stern did a great job of taking all of the physicality out of the game. You understand? Freedom of movement means freedom of movement. Man, back in the day when you had to get by Paul because Paul was squared up with you and ready to slide, and then he could body you, he could poke, he could use his hands, but I can use my hands.
I could fight through a screen.
Bro, in the Olympics was similar style play when the guard can ride you damn near over the pick.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to get out of that, and the Holiday, when he come out and he get over, he there. Right. So if you go to cross him, bro, you don't even. That's what I'm saying, bro. Man, the levels in which you had to be not only strong enough but skilled enough to get by this. You understand? And then they ain't never seen a 6'7" Rodman guard you. Bro, I see you. And you know, you're in the scout report. We know you go left. We know you can finish right, but you go left to pull up. Bro, everybody knows, bro, in the games back then. Them Isaiah Thomases and the Dumars, man, Dumars shut Jordan down. Bro, they was coming to the lane, bro. You might get your nose broke trying to dunk. You understand? Dwayne Wade broke Cole's nose in the All-Star game. Man, bro, it's just different. It was very different back then, bro. Real. I'm talking about in the locker room. You can't be on your phone in the locker room. You can't. Bro, 20 years ago? Nah, nobody in this era could have played 25 years ago. We said that. And I'm talking about not just the play and all the skill that everybody got, actually was called bad shots and lack of efficiency. It was until they start data and saying take more threes than twos. Before then, we played ball, bro. We didn't give a that the GM couldn't come down and say, put into a game plan with a coach like Doc or D'Antoni talking about, we trying to get touches and touch the paint. Bro, I didn't see.
Yeah, it's hard to say more skill.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Nobody in this era has a mid-range.
You couldn't get, nobody.
Nobody in this era has a post game.
And the ones that do look amazing. Look at Shea. Shea got a mid-range.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's only like a few of them got.
That's what I'm saying, bro. 2 dribble, pull up.
Yeah, they don't.
Try to do, okay, young fella, if you hear me. And then y'all exhaust the ball. Y'all are dribbling the air out of the ball.
Right.
Y'all dribble the ball 100 times more than another.
Right.
Catch it off the bounce. 1 dribble, 2 dribble, pull up. Let me see you do that off the bounce.
Right.
Let me see your skill work off that. I ain't even known it like this, but bro, you can't come from and expect a rebuttal. Bro, real was totally different. And you had to have that work, and you had to really work on your You know, you was out 2-3 games, man. Your teammates, hey, bro, what you doing tonight? You going? Nah, I can't go, man. My toenail off, man. I can't. Nah, bro, you can't even come in here and lead no like that. You hear me?
Nah.
So you had to strap it up, and you had to get out here. You had to dive on the floor. You had to get in the rumble. Yeah.
Right.
Real You had, man, it was men leading men. Yeah, ain't none of these no lockout. And Anthony Edwards don't know what's going on with the league policy. This, bro, you understand what I'm talking about? The leader, bro. Man, I can't even have this conversation.
You can't even say it if you ain't watched.
It ain't the same. It ain't the same.
Like,
then you say I didn't watch.
And don't say you didn't watch.
Man, Jordan, the only one has skill. Yeah, I know you didn't watch the game.
I know you
but
didn't
him saying
watch.
that.
Yeah,
so,
you can't say that.
You know what?
And then
Respect
say
to
you
the
don't
young
watch.
fella, man. I don't get on here, and we don't use this platform to douse anything. But I'm not gonna start the cooning. I'm here to elevate the game. I'm here to help the young players elevate themselves. But it's always different eras. And when you hear Michael Jordan and some of the greats talk about the different eras of play, the 80s were different from the 70s, the 70s was different from the 60s, the 60s was different from the 50s. But in all of it, it had gamemanship, it had aggressiveness, and it had stuff that came with it that you didn't really hear about that you hear now. Man, half these be in the locker room. Half these no parents and one mom and all, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these mom and dad and a lot of these outside. Man, I'm really from the park, man. I'm really from Basswood. I really did play at Springfield Park. You know what I'm saying? Cleveland Park, all the parks. I really was at Argyle. I really was on 16th. I really was hanging out on Ridgeway. Like, I'm saying that to say that, yeah. Like, man, it was different times. So when I hear these things, they don't add up because it was a different time of how you played, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then there was a lot of two-way players back then that was real. I'm talking about stars. I'm talking about Gary Payton, the Jason Kidds, the Michael Jordans, the Grant Hills, the McGrady's and the Cobes, you know what I'm saying? The TDs, the C. Webbs, the Rasheeds,
He must have been talking about like the 60s or something.
Lord, he feeling himself, and I like that. I like that he feels good, but when you're a savant and you're talking to the league and you spitting different No, you got to know what you're talking about to be in the argument or to be in the discussion of what we're talking about. But to say that they're most skilled, 20 years, you couldn't get to a triple step back. All that hard and all that. And then, too, if you was dribbling the air of the ball, bro, you straight up. Hey, man.
Come on, man.
Swing it, man. What you doing?
What you doing?
Five more dribbles, you out here? Hold on, I got it. Back it up.
Don't miss.
And then we had plays that you had to remember. And if you can't remember the plays, you couldn't be out here. It wasn't all this switching. You had actually strategy to where the strategy had to go to 2, 5, 2 and 4, y'all 3 and 4, y'all doing this. You had a list of to be responsible for.
Sure that.
Not some, I didn't forget. And you know what? I'm out there because he's good. Nah, bro, there's a whole nother level of so, know what you're speaking about. But yeah, I'll root for you, young fella. Just know what you're talking about, young fella.
So you heard what Kevin Garnett had to say. You heard what he had to say. There's something important that I want to point out. And I think it's important that we state this from the onset. People that have been saying that this generation or athletes today are more advanced than athletes from the past, some of them are athletes themselves. And whenever you have people like myself who are not athletes, just conscious observers, we get told, you don't know what you're talking about because you're not an athlete. And it's used as a way to shut people down. But then something strange occurs from time to time. What occurs is you have other athletes that disagree with what these guys are saying. And what does this mean? It means that just because you're an athlete, it doesn't mean that everything you say is right. It means that you guys can be wrong because there are people that are disagreeing with you. If it was the case that all athletes would agree in unison on this particular subject matter, then I have to step back and say, well, these guys are professionals, so maybe I need to just lean on their professional experience and just say, okay, they're right on this because I don't know. But in this particular case, the opposite is occurring. Kevin Garnett is saying that these guys could not even hang in eras before. He also exposed some of the mechanisms that were put into the game to enhance these players and make them seem like they're better than what they really are. He spoke about the 3-foot the 3-foot step back or whatever he called it. Basically, what he's saying is the NBA allowed it for players to travel. And if you can travel and if you can carry the ball, you can do a lot of things. So basically, players are allowed to break the rules. And whenever you break the rules, you start doing things like we see. He pointed out something else that was very, very important. And Commissioner Adam Silver had admitted as much, speaking to who? Kevin Garnett in an interview that they had. Commissioner Adam Silver, if you don't believe me, go hunt it down. It's on the internet. I don't have time to be showing the video to you now. KG asked him about the excessive scoring that is taking place in the NBA and how some fans are complaining about the competitive balance, that it's leaning too much towards offense. Then Adam Silver responded. He said, we discovered that if players would play under the rules of the very early 2000s and the 90s, it would inhibit them from putting on the offensive showcases that they put on a nightly basis. And one of the things that they used to allow players to score more was to have freedom of movement. Freedom of movement. And Kevin Garnett clearly explained the impact freedom of movement can have on a player's ability to score. Now, why do Kevin Garnett's words ring more than, for example, Gilbert Arenas on this particular issue? Do you know why? Because Kevin Garnett actually played defense. Kevin Garnett was a defensive-minded player. So he would know the impact this would have from a defensive standpoint. If you're just talking to a guy that scored the ball, then he wouldn't know much about it. But KG was a guy that could score, could play on both sides of the ball, so he could tell you from a molecular level. And he's saying that these guys, if they played under more restrictive rules, they would not be who we think they are. They would not be. And he's saying that those that played under those restrictive rules are greater than players today. Well, that makes obvious sense. That makes obvious sense. If you can do more with more restrictions than the other guy, or if you could do the same rather than the other guy that has less restrictions than you, if both of you are on the same plane, the guy that had more restrictions is going to whoop this guy's ass every single time. Every single time. That is the reason why you hear so many people say, well, how many points would AI average if he played in this NBA? How many points would Shaq average? How many points would Kobe average? How many points would what Michael Jordan average? What do you think they're talking about? They're saying that if those players played in this weak-ass NBA today where there's no defense, there's no rim protection, there's no big man, there's no physicality, they would ether the league. Totally ether it. But for whatever reason, some NBA fans cannot seem to grasp this. For whatever reason, it's confusing. Some people hear this and they get confused. It's like as if we're talking about rocket science here. We're just talking simple basketball. And some people get confused. They're like, I don't understand. What do you mean? You're hating. And listen, what KG just said is the bloody truth. And any NBA player saying differently than what he is a damn liar. They are trying to triangulate into a position where they can be liked by younger viewers. So they're like, you know what? We just gonna lie to them. You heard more truth come out of KG in a 7-minute soundbite than you've heard from JJ Redick speaking for years on sports media and basketball. KG just gave you more concrete information in that 7 minutes than I've heard from a bunch of others talking basketball. He just laid it out for you. He's basically saying that these guys wouldn't make it. And it's the truth. Feel any way you want to feel about it. It is the truth. You put those players in this era, it would be a joke. A total joke.